How come it's not whiskey? Interesting. Yep, that's right. I'm doing something a little bit different. In fact, I've been wanting to make this video for probably about a year and a half now, but I kept putting it off because I'm the king of procrastination, and also there was one or two of these little moisturizers that I didn't have, so I just kept putting it off. Decided to do a little bit of whiskey reviews here and there, but today the day has finally come. I've decided to finally make the video of what I think is one of the ultimate moisturizer reviews. So let's get right into it. Why did I want to do this, or how did this come about? Well, like I said, about a year and a half ago, I got a really good deal on some of these moisturizers on a Black Friday sale. I had in the past, years and years ago, used one of the Biotherms, really liked it, but then hadn't used it for years. And then I had run out of moisturizers at home, and these are, again, facial moisturizers, and decided, saw that there'd be a good couple deals on Black Friday, so figured I'd pick up a couple. So we'll go from right to left here, and we'll go through what we've got. First off, we've got the Proactive Green Tea Moisturizer. Now, why do I even have Proactive in here in the first place? It's not a normal type of moisturizer that you can just get at the store, but a lot of people do use Proactive and have seen benefits with it. So I figured that I would throw in their two different moisturizers in here just because it's kind of a good baseline for some people. The green tea, again, isn't one that comes normally. This is one that you have to buy separate. It is a very pretty decent one. The one that normally comes is the Complexion Perfecting Hydrator. That's the normal one that comes in the 3-step process. Next up beside that is we have Clinique for Men Oil Control Mattifying Moisturizer. Next to that, we've got Kiehl's Facial Fuel Energizing Moisture Treatment for Men. That's the newest one that I've literally only had for 2 days. Beside that is probably one of the OG ones that I've had and known for the longest, Lab Series Pro LS All-in-One Facial Face Treatment. Soothing, moisturizing, repairing, and mattifying. And remember the mattifying for later when we get back to this. But this one, I picked this one up for the first time in Chicago, 2014, from actually a Nordstrom rack, and it was quite on sale. So if you can find those on sale, that's a really good find for you because they normally get to be really expensive. After that, one of the Black Friday pickups, a Biotherm T-Pure Anti-Oil and Shine Gel Hydrant Mattifying and Ultra Absorbent. So ultra absorbing and mattifying moisturizing gel. Next to that, one of the other OGs that I tried for the first time probably back in 2008 when I was starting to get into the workforce, Biotherm Aqua Power Comfort Care Dynamic Hydration. Next to that is another one that I picked up for Black Friday, and this one was, I believe, a free sample that actually came with one of these other ones, and it's Biotherm Aqua Power Fermented Clear Essence. So basically this one, it also says on here, water essence hydrates, clears, and smooths. So this one is basically, its consistency is almost like water. It's just a little bit thicker. It's almost like vodka when you take the vodka out of the freezer. That's basically what it's like. And then next to that is the second newest on the list, Tom Ford for Men. This is an oil-free daily moisturizer, and according to some write-ups on it, it's also mattifying. So that was kind of the other reason why I decided to pick this up. It's also the most expensive on the list here. It's for $133 Canadian on the list. So I did get a special on it, so I didn't pay the full price. I don't know if I would or could pay $133 for a moisturizer, and that's actually basically the cheapest Tom Ford beauty thing that they sell too. I think I mean, you can get a bronzing for, I think, 60 or 70 if you use a bronzer, but all the other Tom Ford that's even, I forget what it's called, it's the next step up. They come in the white box. Those are like $200, $300, $400, $500, $600 Canadian, depending on what you get. If you get the concentrate or not, they're crazy expensive. And in the end, Tom Ford is actually just made by that's right, Estee Lauder. Tom Ford, all Tom Ford's beauty supplies, and I believe even their colognes and perfumes are made by Estee Lauder. And I believe they're made in the UK for the most part. So, that's a little bit of background on these, just a little bit more details. So, I have used Proactive before. I've used it a lot over the years, although I very rarely use their moisturizer. I just find their moisturizer, I mean, like, it's okay. I just find it's a little bit thick. It does absorb fairly well. I mean, I've never really had a problem with it. But like if you have, especially in the winter time, if you live in a winter climate, I find because it's thicker, it doesn't really soak in and solve the problem as fast as you kind of want it to. You'd have to use it very regularly over a long period of time. Versus that's the reason why I picked up the green tea moisturizers. The green tea moisturizer is a little bit thinner. It definitely soaks in faster. It's good for a quick fix versus the other one isn't. But then again, if you're needing something for as a staple, I probably wouldn't get the green tea either. It's very expensive for its size, I think. So this is 30 mils or 1 ounce. I want to say that's like $30 Canadian. It used to come in a bigger bottle. It used to come in something almost like this size, which is 3.4 ounces or 100 mil. From what I remember back in the old days, like when I first got Proactive and somebody else I knew at work that had it, he had also the moisturizer and it was in a different skinnier bottle, bigger, and it wasn't that expensive. Next up, again, the Black Friday special, the Clinique for Men. I've known people that have used Clinique, they really liked it. Clinique's very popular. It's a very popular drugstore brand. Also, the reason why I first got this on the Black Friday was because of its oil control mattifying. I don't really have really oily skin. I guess when I was younger, when you're more of a teenager, I did, but now my skin is just mostly a normal type of skin. But the reason I got that is because I already had this, and this stuff was unbelievable. The Lab series, I know I'm skipping the facial fuel here, but basically the story is when I got that Lab series, I'd always wanted to try Lab, but Lab was also kind of expensive for what it is, so I never felt comfortable spending the cash on it. But then when I saw it on sale at Nordstrom Rack, I figured why not? It's a great price. I think it was something like $24 American, and the dollar was at par at the time. It was regular price like 40 or 50. And again, that was American, so like Canadian would have been even more if it was for sale in Canada. And now they had, like the Lab series has such a big catalog of stuff, but this one, the Pro LS all-in-one really caught my attention because of it being highly moisturizing, repairing, and then also mattifying. I'd never had a mattifying moisturizer up until that point, and when I started using it, man, this stuff changed the game. It is very light when you put it on, but then it soaks in fairly fast. I would say it's basically consistency-wise pretty much like the green tea, but more of like a cream versus the green tea is almost more of like a kind of more like a cross between a cream and a gel. It's more of like that neutral gray color, if that makes any sense, versus the cream is a white cream. But the mattifying on it is unbelievable. Like I still can't get over it. It's almost like liquid baby powder. Like that's what it's like. As soon as you put it on, it feels like you have like a really nice soft baby powder type of formula on your skin. Really soaks up the oil and it lasts for hours too. Like I was really impressed with it. Even if you're not like super oily, like you notice it, so it makes you feel like dry and comfortable, but not like dry as in like gross skin dry. It just makes you feel just really comfortable and clean. And baby powder is the best way I can describe it. As if, you know, when you see those old movies when like the rich woman gets out of the shower or the tub and she's like patting her face with that big Chanel pillow and she's putting the powder all over her face. That's basically how you feel when you put this on. That's the best way I can describe it. So, back to the Lab series. I wanted to see if, or pardon me, the Clinique. I wanted to see if the Clinique's mattifying moisturizer could stand up and hold up to the Lab series. So I bought it. I can't remember how much I spent, but it was pretty reduced. Again, drugstores, I got like some freebies and stuff with it. And I gotta say I was a little disappointed. The first time I used it, I noticed right away it was almost exactly like the Proactive Complexion Perfecting Hydrator, which is just the regular moisturizer that comes with the three-step process. It's basically exactly the same. It looks exactly the same. It feels exactly the same. It almost smells the same. I wouldn't be surprised if it is the same. I wouldn't be surprised if the same manufacturer makes both items and just sells them under the two different brands. I don't know what the Rodan & Fields moisturizer is like, because Rodan & Fields is like the big brother parent company of Proactive, just at a higher price point, but it's probably, from what I've heard, it's very similar stuff. For all I know, the Rodan & Fields could be exactly the same. So I mean, it was good for what it was, but I was kind of disappointed and let down that it was basically exactly the same. Color-wise, consistency, texture, how it's soaked in. I'm saying it's exactly the same. I'd be shocked if it was somehow different, because to me, it's exactly the same. So I wouldn't buy it again just because it's too pedestrian. For me, I want something a little bit different. Now to the Kiehl's Facial Fuel. I've only used it for 2 days. I bought it 2 days ago, and originally it was never going to be in this video because I wanted to have had a few weeks or at least a little bit of time with each moisturizer. But I was like, you know what? I've always wanted Kiehl's and I haven't bought it for whatever reason, so I'm just gonna buy it. I'm gonna throw it in the video. I'll try it out. So I've tried it for 2 days. It is nice. I already can't remember what it smells like. It smells kind of similar if you crossed the Biotherm, which is very, very fragrancy, with this, which is like very dull, like plain with the baby powder, but just a little bit of fragrance. It's kind of like if the two had a baby, you'd get this. It seemed, from when I used it, it seems like it's soaked in fairly fast. Nice and light. Just the smallest hint of greasiness, like not very much, but just a little bit. So if that's something you don't like, I probably would stay away from this. But then that will also help in the, I would be interested to know what this is like in the winter time, because that little bit of greasiness is really key for prolonging the moisture when you get really dry and you're down to, like 10 or 20% humidity and your skin just feels like it's a 500-year-old Renaissance painting. Next is this. This is definitely the worst in the whole collection, I would say. And I was a big fan of Biotherm, but the T-Pure Anti-Oil and Shine, this stuff is just garbage. Like, I gotta say, I had a lot of hopes for this, and this is basically a gel. I had a lot of hopes for this stuff. First of all, the smell is repulsive. Like, it is just repugnant. It's basically like, it basically smells like perm solution. So it's just like a watered down version of that infamous smell of when I was a kid and my mom or grandmother was giving one another or giving themselves a perm, and I was over at like my grandma's house, or my mom would do it like, and I'm on summer holidays or whatever. The whole house would stink like perm solution. This is basically what this smells like. So it's just, I can't stand it. It's gross, and that's not even the worst part of it, is that if you put it on, like most moisturizers, or when you put it on your face, usually you're gonna like put it into your eyebrows a little bit because your eyebrows tend to get dry. This stuff, if you get it in there, it like dries and becomes really flaky. Like, it's gross, just the consistency that it comes out of. And like it's thick, and it's like gel-like, and then it's almost tacky to the touch. Like, I really didn't like it. And then especially the deal breaker for me was like when I basically had to wash my face again, or really try and like work it out of the eyebrows because of it getting like all nasty and flaky and stuff. That's a no-go for me. I really didn't like that. Next, for the Biotherm, we're gonna go to what I would say is the very first decent moisturizer that I ever had. I was probably 18 when I first bought this stuff, and this is the Aquapower Biotherm. Now, the difference is this is slightly different than what it used to be like if you have a history with this or you bought it a long time ago. First of all, it used to come in a slightly different container. It used to have, this is basically the same now as this, where it's a push, which is what it used to be, but it used to look slightly different. It used to have more of like a base that would come down and then out, all around the bottom, and then from what I can remember, I think the top was all basically one piece. It didn't have like this weird setback thing, but either or. Also, the consistency of this gel. It even says on here a new F&C. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I could be wrong. And this is meant for dry skin. That's why I first bought it, because it was a winter time and like my skin was so dry, even though at the time I was like 18, 19, which is like oil skin central. My skin was so dry at the time. I really needed something that would like soak in quick and fast, because of like where I was working. I was dealing with the public all the time, always dressed up. You couldn't look like some schmuck off the street. So I got this. It was, at the time, I remember it being more gel-like. Now it's almost more like a cross between a gel and a cream, more so to the cream side, but it's still got a really nice scent. Like this stuff smells like just like a masculine scent, kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like a cheaper scent, but I don't know if they have this in the States, but a number of years ago there was a time when, like, I think it was called Stetson for men, was a really popular, like really cheap drugstore cologne. And it was like just like a real like man's scent of like cologne, not musk, not citrus, but like just that really in between, like man's man, of what your uncle or your grandpa used to smell like, but not Brute, not like Brute, totally different. If you're thinking your grandpa smelled like Brute, this isn't that. This is just a really nice masculine cologne scent, almost like it's kind of got a mixture of sandalwood with maybe some of those other like really basic masculine scents. So like it smells amazing, like really, really good. And even if you didn't like Stetson, like I know some of that stuff was, I'm pretty sure it was called Stetson. This isn't as overpowering, it smells really good. But it is more so now, a little bit more like 60-40 onto the like cream side, versus before it was almost like a pure gel. Now it's more like 60% cream, 70% cream versus the rest gel. But this stuff really soaks in really well, but it is a little bit more, again, on the greasier side. So if you're wanting something, this one is not oil free. Hence a little bit of that greasiness in there. Made in France. They're both made in France.
We come from France.
So if that's something you want to stay away from, I never really found it that bad. But it does really do the job for soaking in well. But again, a little bit greasy, kind of like a little greasier than the facial feel for sure. It's probably one of the more, I'd say it's probably the greasiest out of all of these. Because again, this one is like toxic sludge. So it's not, again, greasy. But this one, it's so greasy, it's basically Brian greasy. Just kidding, sorry Brian. Big Broncos fan here. Anyway, then next we got this little sample, and I didn't know what to expect of this Aqua Power. But holy smokes, man. Like, this stuff is legit. This stuff, again, the consistency is almost like it's like a liquid, like a water, or like I said before, that vodka right out of the freezer. This thing soaks in so fast and does such a good job of combating dryness. I would say this is easily the best out of all of them. For if you have dry skin in wintertime, this is what you want. And matter of fact, when all of these are gone, I would probably just pick up one of these. It's the same container, just like actual size, not like miniature tiny Honey I Shrunk Ourselves size. It's like basically, I think it's like the size of this or the Tom Ford, and it looks exactly like this. This is probably what I would buy again in the future when all these are done, just because it soaks in so well. It's so light. The only thing is, at least with this one, I don't know if the big one is the same. You literally have to like pour it into your hand, so it's a little bit messy. Sometimes you can spill some. I'm hoping the other one, the full size, is a better applicator. But this stuff is really good. Also the smell. It smells very similar to this, just not quite as overpowering. So like, again, wicked scent. And it doesn't like last all day. So it's not like if you like wearing a cologne, it's not like it's gonna overpower the cologne or last forever. Last up on the list, Tom Ford. Again, I've only had this one for about a week. Just recently picked this one up. Again, I got a special price on it. But this one does retail for 133 Canadian. Give or take, depending on maybe what store you find at. Maybe you can find it cheaper. This one was also very nice. Also, I mean, Tom Ford and the packaging. Like, I didn't even want to open it. Like, this is just, it's so beautiful. Tom Ford with his colognes, I've got 4 of his private labels. His packaging is just second to none. Like, he really knows that everything, no matter whether you're buying clothing, shoes, skincare, suits, it doesn't matter what it is, packaging is important. He really puts emphasis and thought into packaging. Like, this is just a beautiful case. Just twists and it pops up, and it's just a little pump applicator. As for how it is consistency wise, I would say the Tom Ford is very similar to the Facial Fuel, just a little bit less greasy. And again, the Facial Fuel, hardly greasy at all, but it's just there, just a little bit. This, I would say, is the closest to the Lab. I would say this is definitely closest to the Lab series, but it's like 2 or 3 times the price of the Lab series too. So you're probably paying for that wicked packaging. Really nice and light, really good consistency. Doesn't really have that much of a scent to it, actually. I'm just gonna, got it here. It just basically smells. It's got a really pleasant smell. The only thing I noticed, it kind of almost has just a little bit of a lemony scent to it. And actually, the funny thing, I told a guy at work when he was asking me, like, hey, let me know how that thing is. I was on a trip and I was at some hotel. It was like a Marriott or something. Like, nothing super high end, but you get like those little sample bottles that are in the bathroom, and one of them was like I forget what brand it was, but it was like a no-name brand or whatever, like one of those like hotel brands, whatever, it doesn't matter. But it was like a lemon sage or something. That's kind of what this smells like. It kind of reminds me, which I was almost a little bit disappointed that it didn't smell more like one of his colognes, because I know he used to make an oud wood moisturizer that was like for your hands. It wasn't really for your face. So I was kind of hoping that some of these, which I don't believe he makes the oud wood moisturizer anymore. I believe that's discontinued along with the oud wood bar of soap. I was kind of hoping this would have a scent of like either oud wood or some maybe like its own scent all on its own. It doesn't. It has just the lightest of light lemony, and it's very light. Like some people might not even notice it. So it just did that first time kind of remind me of that hotel moisturizer, which was kind of like, that's too bad. But then also, like, it is really pleasant to use. There's like basically no oiliness to it at all. It's really nice and light. It soaks in well. I think it would be pretty decent in the wintertime. I think it would be along the same lines as the Facial Fuel. But I gotta say, just the price point makes it a little unreachable for most. I couldn't bring myself to spend 133 plus tax on moisturizer. That's a little bit too much. It's a little bit crazy. So I guess in conclusion, the synopsis for myself, which is the best one here? I think again, this one, the Aqua Power Essence Hydrate, Clarify, and Unify is the best, just because of how quick it soaks in, how light it is. I definitely think that is the best one here. But if you like something mattifying, the Lab series is definitely the one you want to go with. I believe some of these Lab series, I know it says limited edition, I believe they're still making it, even though it's been a number of years. I hope they are, because this thing was the shiz. This stuff is just the best. It's so good at what it does. That's probably the one I would recommend to like all skin types, just because of the mattifying. But you know what? I think if you want to save just a little bit of money, and I don't think it's that much cheaper, go with that Essence by Biotherm. It's just the best overall. So I think that's the one that's going to get my pick, and that's going to be the one that I'm going to buy when all these things are finally killed and done with. That's the one I'm going to go with. So I thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I know it's something a little bit different, but that's kind of what I want to do with these videos and this channel, this YouTube experience, is just kind of do a little bit of things here and there, whether it be photography or whiskey tasting or whatever it may be. So again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time.